sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. We're doing something different this week. I was a guest on the Success in South Carolina podcast last week, which was hosted by Jonathan Peeples. We talked about the addiction to approval that many people have and how that impacts you in sales. We're really going to dig into that subject in this second half of that great podcast. Please listen and share it with anybody that needs to hear. Thanks, as always.
So one of the questions I have, because this is brilliant, it all makes sense in my head. It makes sense up here.
Yep, of course.
How do I take it from up here to put it in here, to put it in my heart?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, is that a daily thing? Is that a weekly thing? Is that I need to just delve into this and give it 3-4 hours and have an aha moment, meditate, or is it?
It happens. It's got to be something that you're always working on. I mean, I learned about this about 20 years ago, and it's something I work on all the time. I think the world is out. The material world is out there to beat on us all the time and make us feel like we're less than. That's what marketing is about, right? How do you feel? What is something that you need so you can be complete and accepted, right? And other people will tear you down if you're doing something that they want, right? They'll tear you down, and we've got to realize ourselves. I can't listen to what other people say about me. And by the way, our worst critic is always ourselves.
Right.
It's the voice in your head. If anybody else talked to you the way your voice in your head did, you'd want to beat them to death.
Yeah.
And so part of it is, here's what I have done. And I do this, and I should do it on a regular basis. I should do it more often, but at least at the end of the year or at any time, I'll look back over the last 6 months and say, what are the things I really screwed up? What are the things that I'm ashamed of, embarrassed about, mad at myself for? And I write them down. Who are the relationships I blew up? The business things I screwed up, the things I messed up with my wife, with my kids, all these things, right? And I'll never come up with the whole list. I could fill up a whole thing full. And what I've learned to do is write those things down and then put a strike through them and say, I forgive myself.
Wow.
I forgive myself, because that we got to start with that and forgive yourself, because you're going to screw things up. You're going to fall short. You're not going to be perfect. And the more that you have a solid belief in yourself, the more you'll realize how imperfect you are.
Yeah. I think it gives us this power, this superpower of empathy, right? Yeah. And once we realize that we're flawed and no one is perfect, there was one perfect man, no person's perfect on this earth right now, then I can now understand if somebody's short with me, if somebody's mad, they're imperfect. But you know what? Hurt people are hurting people. They've got hurt going on in their life. So I can empathize with them instead of judging them, saying that jerk off cut me off, or that person's talked back to me. That person, I can't believe they do that. Hey, you know what? I'm not perfect. Yeah.
And I want to get better, because I'm not perfect is an excuse.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
I can get better. And there's this great learning curve, right? When you first learn something, the first thing that happens is you say, this is easy. And then the more you learn about it, the more and more hard you realize. And when you become an expert, you're like, holy shit, this is complicated.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I deal with this with salespeople all the time. There are people like me out there. They go, I can talk to anybody. I got lots of friends. I don't need your damn help.
How do we keep that mindset of I can get better, but also believe I'm a 10?
Yeah. So let's have that picture, right? So picture a seed in the ground. Its value is a 10. It sprouts, its value is a 10. It grows into a bush with flowers. Its value is a 10. It dies and goes into the ground. Its value is a 10. 10 doesn't mean you're complete. 10 means you have full faith and belief in yourself that you are okay and you can and want to be so much better. If somebody, even if you're an expert in something and somebody says, hey, I've got a better way, and you go, holy shit, if you know a better way, please show me.
Yeah.
Because it's as soon as when you, and I picture this as like being open, right? As opposed to somebody who has embodied that the victim mentality, which is down at a zero value, right? They've embodied that. They see themselves as a victim and they don't want anybody to know. They don't want anybody to know they're not perfect. Somebody that has a full value view of themselves, they don't give a shit who knows.
Right.
Because, hey, man, it's just me and I'm trying to get better and I'm working on things and here's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
No excuses.
And I feel like sometimes we try to help those victims, but sometimes we're just, what do you call it? We're just reinforcing their victim state.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
It's natural to want to rescue people, right? It's an instant, I struggle with this sometimes. People like, I don't give that person money because they'll just go buy booze. And I'm like, well, it's funny. I was going to take that money and go buy booze myself. Is that better? Right. So, I mean, I do think it's our responsibility. One thing, if you've got a full value of yourself, right? One of your beliefs would be, I need to lift other people up.
Yeah.
If you have a low value of yourself, you see success as being a limited thing and you want to drag other people down. It's one of the ways you can tell what somebody's belief is in themselves is, are they lifting other people up? Are they dragging other people down? Right.
Well, scarcity versus abundance mentality, right?
Right on. Yeah. 100%.
And it's one of the reasons I see as a salesperson, you see a lot of people don't want to talk to their competitors, for example.
Right. Shit.
Because, there's only so much of a market out there. I can't talk to my competitor. Whereas talking to your competitor could end up being the best thing in the world for you. Because like you said, not everybody's perfect for going to be a perfect fit for me and my company.
Yep.
Well, it's good to know somebody else who does what I do because I can send them the people that don't fit for me. And you know what? They're probably going to do the same for me.
Yeah. Especially the ones that are paying in the ass. They're assholes. I prefer them over to the guy, right? Jam up their pipeline.
Right.
You should go talk to him and beat him up on his price. He'll negotiate with you. I won't. Right. So, throw him the shit over there. Right. So,
yeah.
But I mean, there's so much to learn. And there's a quick thing before we go. My father died when he was 95 and he was with us and physically and mentally active until probably 93 and a half. So just lucky, wonderful, great person for me to be with. And I remember I was up in his mountain cabin one time and he was reading he was 93, this big old book, The History of South Carolina, written by his friend Walter Edgar. And I teased him. I've said, Dad, why the hell are you reading the damn history of South Carolina? I said, you're probably on page 2. Your name is probably on page 2. Yeah. And he said, you know what? There's just so much to learn. And I was like, boom, there's a 93-year-old guy who's saying there's so much to learn. And I was like, that is freaking awesome.
Yeah. That blows me away, Walker. 93 years old. So much to learn. Because you're right. It's this thing too. Like you said, the little expert thing. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Don't know shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more there is. I mean, because there's infinite amount. And I've also learned whenever I think something's going to be easy, it just means I don't understand it.
And just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing.
Right.
In fact, the fact that it's hard is what makes it worth pursuing. Success is hard.
Success
doesn't come easy.
How about this? Consistent success, because you can get lucky. You can get lucky and can be a one-hit wonder, a one-streak wonder. But and again, we can delve into the philosophy of that. But yeah, being the best version of yourself is a constant learning, growing thing. It's not something you go, well, it's me. It's when do you give up? When do you say, this is enough? I'm good enough. And that to me, unless you're going to your maker, unless you're a day away from going to your maker, I feel like what a shitty thing.
Yeah.
We've all got so much to learn. I was just talking to a competitor of mine this morning. He does what I do in California. I've known him for a long time, and we were trading back and forth things that we learned and best practices, that kind of stuff. And he showed me some stuff he's doing. I was like, oh my God, that is so much better than what I have.
Yeah.
Right. He said, take it, use it, make it yours.
Yeah.
So I sent him some of my stuff and he said, holy shit, never thought about it that way. I was like, take it, use it, make it yours. Why not?
Right.
Plenty of success out there.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you, one of the questions that I had Walker walking into this was that there's so many methodologies out there. There's a sales methodology, A, B, C, D.
Oh God.
You know, you've got and I know that you did some Sandler training and but I mean, do you feel like, I don't personally think that any methodology works exactly for every company, where it's best for every, you got B2B, you've got B2C, you've got multi-million-dollar sale that involves like you said, building that professional relationship. And then you've got a first call sale, little adaptation.
Yeah. Transactional, low money, B2C. Yeah.
So can you give me a quick take on the pros and cons of the sales methodology systems that are out there, the popular ones? And like, why did you start this No BS, and what kind of separates it?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So, I believe that, when I first got good sales training, what I didn't know was that you can follow a sales process. I never knew such a thing existed.
Right. Most salespeople just shoot from the hip, right?
They shoot from the hip. And you know, what's funny is they end up, even when they're shooting from the hip, they're doing some process that they probably learned from somebody else. And it's usually, it's incredible these days, but it's some version of the Dale Carnegie thing. Meet them, greet them, propose them, close them. And if you don't close them, you overcome objections, then you chase them.
Yeah.
And when you follow that process, and again, there's nothing wrong with that process, except for everybody knows that process, even your buyers. Yeah. And so let's see this. When's the last time that somebody tried to convince you of something and you said, boy, this is great. I'm glad they're trying to convince me of this. My guess is that hasn't happened any time, right? We don't like to be convinced. We don't want anybody to sell us something. We like to buy. We like to make up our own mind. We don't like to be convinced. And so I believe that great selling happens when the salesperson is not the object. The salesperson goes into any situation with empathy, with the belief that, look, we may not be the right fit for you, and I'm going to look for those reasons, and not for my ego. You're not the right one. I don't know if we'll be the right fit or not. Let's see if we can figure this out. And the salesperson has enough humility and humanity to treat this person as an equal, to recognize that their experience, their walk that they've been through life is different than the one I've been through. Even two twin brothers are going to walk through different things in life and may see things differently. So I think following a sales methodology that you recognize as a sales methodology, that you can have steps, and in my world is the steps to disqualify people so you don't waste their time.
Yeah.
And know that if it's a no, it doesn't mean if you tell somebody no or they tell you no, it's no reflection on you.
Yeah.
It just was a yes or a no. And so, yeah, there are lots of sales methodologies out there. What I think is a lot of it, I think you have to look at them loosely. And the process that I use, it can be used in business to consumer. I don't like to teach it to business to consumer because I feel like salespeople, some who are not good people, can use it to their advantage, right? And take advantage of people. I don't like that idea. The sales process that I teach is for typically business to business folks there's a consultative side to this. And we want to make sure that we have 50-50 control in the sales call, that we have the same control and leverage that the buyer does. So it's an even, fair deal. Yeah. And I feel like as long as we have 50-50 control and we treat each other with respect, and if one or the other doesn't feel like they're being treated with respect, we can say, hey, thanks, I'm out. But I think, there's this great title of the book, To Sell is Human. We're all, whether you say, I'm not in sales, I would never be in sales, and all these professionals, lawyers stuff, I'm not in sales, I would never make cold calls. Well, sales is so much beyond cold calls, right? It's getting somebody to buy into your ideas. And how can we how can we share our ideas? How do we create enough trust? Sales to me is having somebody trust you enough to give you money to make a problem go away.
Yeah.
And there are two questions that a buyer has to answer for themselves, because to buy something or to sell something is to make change, to create a change. So step number one, the buyer must ask themselves is, am I committed to do something different or differently?
Yeah.
Right. Am I committed to do something? So if you're going to buy a car, am I committed to get another car? Am I committed to sell the car I have? First and foremost, am I committed to do something?
Yeah.
And then secondly, who do I want to do that with? Most salespeople get this confused and they start with, look at my bright, shiny object. Look at what I have. Don't you want to buy it? This is great. Let me give you all the features and benefits. Well, how much freaking time do we waste trying to convince somebody how great we are when they haven't even convinced themselves that they needed to make a change?
Yeah.
So
that takes a lot of energy.
It's a lot of energy and you waste a lot of time, do a lot of free consulting, and you're aggravating as shit to the person you're talking to.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered your question, but
you mentioned in there that people have to trust you to make that decision.
Yeah. Yep.
But I've heard many times that, hey, no, like, and trust. They've got to know you, like you, and trust you.
Nope.
And I'll tell you what, that goes back into the approval addiction thing.
Yep.
If I've got to get them to like me.
Yep. I don't give a shit if they like me. Well, a lot of people buy from me and they don't like me because we've had to have a hard conversation. A lot of people buy from me on the first meeting when they don't know me, right? But you have to trust, right? Any more than you're going to interview your ambulance driver to see if you know, like, and trust him before he takes you to the hospital, or you want to know, like, and trust your airline pilot who has your life in his hands. No.
True.
Right.
I love those examples because you don't know your airline pilot.
Shit, no. You just assume that they know what they're doing.
You trust them, though. Trust them with your life.
You are implicitly, you're trusting because you're getting on the freaking metal tube and going up in the air with them.
Right.
And so as a salesperson, to build trust, it has nothing to do with things in common. Most people don't give a shit that they have something in common with you. And a lot of salespeople waste a whole lot of time going, oh, you like to fish? I like to fish. You should see what I've done. Or, hey, let's talk about bullshit, right? What we need to figure out is what's that. The only thing we have to have in common is that we're both interested in helping that other person.
Yeah.
They're both interested in helping them. I'm interested in helping them and they're interested in getting help themselves.
Yeah.
That's all.
And the market's different than it was 50, 60 years ago too, because back then people needed to be sold stuff. Now
there was no information.
Right. You needed sales guys to go door to door or wherever it is, because otherwise, where are they going to get their stuff from? Correct. And now people don't like to be sold anymore. They want to buy.
Yep.
They want to be the buyer. They don't want you to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
They want you to be the guy that's consulting and it's helping them buy. That's it.
And how can nobody can see that you're better till they see that you're different.
And I know you talk about the guide versus hero.
Yeah, right. The guide versus the hero, right? The hero's got to go close the sale, got to go ring the bell. I made the sale. I won the deal. And that's really hard because if you're not the hero, you're the loser.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be the loser. So then they don't take no as an answer. They chase people forever. They're obnoxious, right? They make it all about themselves. And a guide is not about themselves. They're about, is this the right person that I want to help? And you know what? A lot of people are not going to be the right fit. And so I'm going to be the one that when my client hires me, they get to be the hero. They made the right choice. I make their life easier, make them look good. And if that's our goal from our heart, we win.
You're Yoda. They're Luke Skywalker.
That's what they say. I don't know. I'm not Yoda or anything, but I'm working, right? I'm working to get better and I learn every day. And I don't know. I tell my clients, you'll always know more about your business than I will. And that's a good thing because my question often is, why the hell do you keep doing it that way?
Yeah.
Let
me ask you this.
Yeah.
How do you keep from going into the other ditch though? Right. To overcome this approval addiction, I got to get past I need people to like me. Yeah. I can't be a people pleaser anymore. I need to be kind, not nice. But at the same time, how do I not swing to the sociopath that I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me and I'm just going to go out there and do what I need to do?
Yeah. So it's a good question. I think you naturally won't go to the other side. There's this funny story. People say in your 20s, you hope everybody likes you. In your 40s, you say, I don't give a shit who likes me. In your 60s, you realize nobody's been thinking about you anyway. Right. But, so I think what you have to recognize is I'm not here to get my emotional needs met. I'm not in this place to get my emotional needs met. I maybe get my emotional needs met at home. Right. And that's where we get our needs like love and approval and all those kind of things at home from our family, you hope. Right. And so when you begin with that, and my job is not to make this person like me, my job is to see if this person will trust me enough to give me money to make a problem go away. And the trust happens when they see that I understand their situation, not because I read their 10Q reports, not because I memorized their website, but because I asked them questions. Every salesperson asks questions. Every salesperson gets data. How many, how much? Great. You're not any different. The great salespeople ask people's opinions. What do you think about your situation? What is your opinion about this thing? So you lost $1 million. Tell me what that means to you. Do you care? Why is that a big deal? Is that a big deal to you? I had one business owner lost $1 million a year before. And I said, it's because of a sales problem. I said, is that a big deal? He said, you're damn right it is. I was able to buy my partner out for half price. Yeah. It's not what I thought. That's not where I thought that conversation was going. Yeah. Right. That's not my experience, but we need to ask our prospects opinions about things and not tell them they're wrong, because that's their life. It's their experience. And if we can understand their opinions about things, then they trust you.
Well, you've given me a lot to swallow here, Walker.
Well, you've given me a lot to keep me on here so long.
And so people, obviously, I'm sure that our listeners will listen to this and they'll be like, okay, I need to talk to Walker. They can find you at walkermckay.com. I know you guys, you have a special right now. You're giving away free 7 sales mistakes. They can download that. Yep. And that's so 7salesmistakes.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the number 7salesmistakes.com, which is it's a little mini course, a 7 video series of mistakes that you may be making that are costing you money and what you can do about them. I have a podcast called the No BS Sales School podcast, which is probably anywhere you listen to podcasts. I used to have guests. Now what I do is I just do 5 to 15 minutes of a sales tip twice a week.
And I love your me versus me segments that you've been having recently. Those are some of my favorites.
And that's part of the thing, right? Is who's the me that's going to show up? Is it me with the high need for approval? Is it me that wants everybody to like me? Or is it the me that says, okay, let's set that aside because you're going to get in your own way if you take that into this meeting or this sales call or this whatever.
Right. And you do training and coaching. You on your website, it says anywhere from 1 person to 100 people, 100 teams, 100. Are there any? You've got 100 different industries you've worked with.
I've probably worked with at least 100. I've done a lot of stuff lately in the commercial insurance business and benefits. I've done a lot of stuff in IT. I've done a lot of stuff in construction, larger things like that, engineering, some professionals.
So what are some of the questions that people that would make a good client for you? What are the questions they're asking or the problems they're having that they can say, you know what, I need to talk to Walker?
Yeah. So typically they're saying things like, there's a lot more business out there, but we don't know how to go get it. Or we've got a lot of competitors now and we know we're better and different, but nobody will pay us. We hadn't figured out how to get a premium for what we do. I suck at hiring salespeople and I got to figure this out. Or I've got half my team seems to be pretty good. The other half of my team isn't doing what they need to do. And I don't know what to do about it. Right. So, and usually it involves, do you have the right people? Are they doing the right things? What are the skills they need to add? We do assessments of sales teams and what they need to do to fix it. And then we create a plan and we formulate our sales system around their business to help them differentiate themselves.
Yeah. And that's perfect. Because I know one of the things I've found is that a lot of the CEOs out there have at least a little bit of a natural salesperson in them. That's why they started their own business. To get things off the ground. But most of them, the reason they started their business is because they were passionate about it and they know a lot about it. For example, technology or IT. They know a lot about technology and IT, and they know this little bit about sales, enough to where people can trust them. Yeah. And maybe they've gained clients based on the reputation. Right. It's not transferable.
They'll say, see, just do what I do. And nobody can do what they do.
Right.
Nobody. And the guys who are in the business for many people in the business 25 years say all these unhelpful things like, it's all about the relationships. You just got to make those relationships. Well, how the F do you do that?
Yeah.
Right. How do you? And so those are the steps that we show people how to do. And it's, old Joe, who's been very successful, is a really shitty teacher for somebody new. Because he ain't done it new in a long time.
So if any of our listeners are out there and they've got a great product or a great service or a great whatever, and they realize they've got a higher quality and they should be getting a premium for it, but they're getting beat up on price and they're
all the time,
whatever,
or they're always answering RFPs and they're getting picked much less than they should. Or they just say, look, I don't like selling, but I have to sell. I don't want to feel like a sleazeball. We've got workshops for individuals. And we also have more customized training for companies. So we can cover, if it's the right fit, happy to talk to somebody. If you can, Walker at walkermckay.com is a great place to reach out to me, or go to my website, or hell, call me, 803-917-2817.
Well, you heard it, guys. WalkerMcKay.com, 7 sales mistakes, no BS, sales school podcast. Check it out. Walker, you've given us so much today. I'm going to have to sit and digest this, listen to it 2 or 3 or 4 times. I've already been listening to your podcast, and it's great. By the way, get out there, give Walker a 5-star rating too. Listen to his, leave a review for him. Some of these latest episodes that are 5, 10, 15 minutes, choose 1 or 2 of them. I guarantee you listen to one, you'll be hooked.
You're the best. Thank you, Jonathan. I really have enjoyed this show. You do such a nice job. Y'all share this with somebody that needs to hear it. Let people know more about Success in South Carolina podcast. It is a great vehicle. And Jonathan, you're doing a great service to the state.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.